Captain Marcus Vale stood on the bridge of Earth's primary defense station watching the stars change color. The massive alien vessels appeared like dark clouds against the void, each one larger than any city on Earth. Their hulls gleamed with strange metal that seemed to bend light around it, and Marcus felt his heart sink as he counted them. 50 ships, maybe more, all bearing the same terrifying symbol burned into their sides. Admiral Rosa Blackwood arrived on the bridge, her face grim as stone. She had seen the reports from the outer colonies, the ones that still existed anyway. The Hegemony Coalition had been moving through this sector of space for months, leaving nothing but silence behind them. 12 different alien species working together, all of them predators, all of them hungry for the hunt. The communications array crackled to life, and a voice spoke in perfect English, though it carried sounds no human throat could make. High Stalker. Vexthal introduced himself as the voice of the Coalition, and his words made Rosa's blood turn cold. Earth would become a hunting preserve, he explained with casual cruelty. Humans would be tagged, numbered, and released like animals for the entertainment of the galaxy's elite warriors. Marcus watched as the alien demonstrated their power. Earth's defense platforms fired their most powerful weapons, but the energy simply disappeared into the Coalition ships as if absorbed by hungry darkness. The message was clear and simple. Resistance was pointless. Humanity had been chosen as prey, and prey they would become. But Rosa Blackwood smiled for the first time in weeks, and Marcus wondered if the stress had finally broken his commanding officer. She activated a private channel that bypassed all normal communication systems and spoke a single word that changed everything. Apex, she said, and somewhere deep beneath the Antarctic ice ancient machines began to wake. Dr. Elena Vasquez had been waiting for this moment for 20 years. Hidden in laboratories carved from solid rock, her team had worked in absolute secrecy on Project Apex. The world above thought they were studying climate change and glacial formations, but the truth was far more dangerous. Elena had been preparing for war against enemies that most humans couldn't even imagine. The project began with a simple question that haunted Elena's dreams. Why did every species that reached the stars eventually become either hunter or prey? She had studied the remains of extinct civilizations, scattered across dead worlds, and found the same pattern repeated endlessly. The strong devoured the weak, and the weak vanished into history like smoke. Elena refused to accept that fate for humanity. If the universe demanded that Earth's children become prey, then she would change what it meant to be human. The first test subjects had volunteered, knowing they might not survive the process. Their genetic code was rewritten using techniques that combined human science with technology salvaged from crashed alien vessels that governments claimed never existed. The results exceeded every prediction. The enhanced humans possessed reflexes that moved faster than thought itself. Their minds processed information with computer precision, while their bodies adapted to threats in real time. Most importantly, they retained their humanity, while gaining abilities that would let them hunt the hunters. As Coalition ships moved into Earth's atmosphere, Elena activated the global network. Across every continent, in hidden bunkers and secret facilities, the first wave of enhanced humans began to wake. They had been sleeping for months while their bodies completed the transformation, but now they opened eyes that saw the world with predatory clarity. Lance Corporal Jake Morrison felt the change immediately. His squad had been selected for enhancement 3 months ago when satellite images first detected the Coalition fleet moving toward Earth. Jake remembered the pain of the process, the feeling of his DNA being torn apart and rebuilt into something new and dangerous. But now he felt only hunger for the coming fight. The Coalition landing parties descended from their ships, expecting to find terrified primitives hiding in caves and ruins. Instead, they found Jake and his team waiting in the forests outside the first landing zone. The aliens moved with confidence earned through centuries of hunting weaker species, but they had never encountered prey that fought back with such calculated violence. Jake's enhanced senses let him track the alien hunters through dense woods that should have given them every advantage. His modified nervous system processed their movement patterns and predicted their tactics with mechanical precision. When the first coalition warrior stepped into his trap, Jake moved with speed that seemed to break the laws of physics. The alien died before it understood what had killed it. Jake's squad eliminated the entire hunting party in less than 10 minutes, using weapons that combined human engineering with stolen alien technology. They left no survivors and took the aliens' equipment as trophies that would help them hunt. Even more effectively, on the Coalition flagship, Supreme Hunter Krovac received reports that made no sense. His hunting parties were disappearing without sending distress signals. The few scattered transmissions spoke of humans moving like shadows and striking with impossible precision. Krovac had hunted intelligent prey on 17 different worlds, but he had never encountered anything like this. The Vector species had perfected the art of the hunt across millennia of conquest. They studied their prey for months, learning every weakness before beginning the actual killing. But these humans seemed to be learning faster than his hunters could adapt. Worse, they appeared to be sharing information across vast distances as if their minds were connected by invisible threads. Elena watched the reports flowing into her command center with savage satisfaction. The enhancement process had included one feature that she kept secret even from her own team. The Neural Bridge Protocol allowed enhanced humans to share tactical data instantly across any distance. Every lesson learned by one became available to all, creating a collective intelligence that grew stronger with each encounter. Commander Lisa Torres led her strike team through the alien ship with movements that would have made wolves jealous. Her enhanced senses mapped every corridor while her modified brain calculated the most efficient path to the command center. The Coalition crew never saw them coming because they moved with silence that seemed to absorb sound itself. Torres had spent years studying alien psychology and technology in preparation for this moment. She knew that Coalition species relied on fear and intimidation to control their prey, but humans had learned to use those same weapons against their creators. Her team planted charges throughout the ship's critical systems while the crew slept in their quarters dreaming of easy hunts. The explosions came at dawn, Earth time, turning the massive Coalition vessel into a funeral pyre that lit up the sky for hundreds of miles. Torres and her team escaped in stolen alien fighters that they flew with skill that surprised even themselves. The enhancement process had given them instinctive understanding of any technology they encountered, as if their minds had become universal translators for mechanical languages. Highstalker Vexthal realized that his careful plans were crumbling like sandcastles before an incoming tide. The humans weren't behaving like prey at all. They moved like apex predators who had been hunting for millions of years. Every action showed planning and preparation that suggested they had been expecting this attack for decades. As night fell over the burning wreckage of his forward base, Vexthal made a decision that would haunt him forever. He activated his emergency beacon and called for reinforcements from the Coalition homeworlds. If these humans wanted to play at being hunters, then he would show them what real predators could accomplish when pushed to desperation. But deep in her Antarctic laboratory, Elena Vasquez smiled as she detected the alien transmission. Everything was proceeding exactly according to plan. Phase 2 of Project Apex was ready to begin, and soon the galaxy would learn that when Earth created hunters, they never settled for being anything less than apex predators. The real hunt was just beginning. The Coalition reinforcements arrived 3 days later, bringing with them the most feared hunters in the galaxy. Supreme Hunter Krovac watched his elite warriors descend to Earth's surface, confident that sheer numbers would overwhelm whatever tricks these primitive humans had developed. His species had conquered civilizations that possessed technology far beyond anything Earth could produce, yet somehow these hairless apes continued to resist. Lance Corporal Jake Morrison crouched in the ruins of downtown Seattle, watching the alien dropships land in what used to be the financial district. His enhanced vision could see the heat signatures of Coalition warriors as they deployed in standard hunting formation. They moved with practiced efficiency that spoke of centuries spent perfecting the art of tracking and killing intelligent prey. Jake's squad had grown since the first encounters. Enhanced humans from across the Pacific Northwest had joined his unit, creating a pack of predators that moved through the urban jungle with deadly purpose. Each member possessed abilities that made them superior to normal humans in every measurable way. But they retained the one advantage that no alien species seemed to understand. They fought for something greater than themselves. The first Coalition hunting party entered the abandoned office building where Jake's team waited in perfect silence. The aliens used scanning equipment that could detect heartbeats through solid concrete, but the enhanced humans had learned to control their biological functions with computer precision. They became invisible to alien senses by simply willing their bodies to mimic death itself. Jake struck first, moving through the building's ventilation system with fluid grace that defied human anatomy. His modified skeleton was lighter than normal, bone but stronger than steel cables. His muscles generated force that could crush alien skulls like overripe fruit, while his nervous system processed combat data faster than any organic brain should function. The alien warrior died before it could activate its distress beacon. Jake's team eliminated the entire hunting party in less than 5 minutes using tactics that combined human creativity with enhanced physical capabilities. They took the aliens' weapons and communication devices, then vanished into the urban labyrinth. Like smoke dissolving in wind on the Coalition flagship, Supreme Hunter Krovac studied tactical displays that showed impossible results. His most experienced warriors were being systematically eliminated by creatures that shouldn't possess the skills necessary for such precision killing. The humans moved like they had been hunting Coalition species for generations instead of encountering them for the first time only days ago. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the battles from her command center deep beneath Antarctic ice. The neural bridge protocol was working beyond her wildest expectations. Every tactical lesson learned by enhanced humans in Seattle was instantly available to teams fighting in London, Tokyo, and São Paulo. Humanity was becoming a single distributed intelligence that learned from every encounter. But Elena knew that the Coalition would eventually adapt to human tactics. She activated Phase 2 of Project Apex and watched as the enhancement process entered its next stage. The second wave of volunteers had been waiting in medical bays across the globe, their bodies prepared for modifications that would make the first enhancement seem primitive by comparison. Commander Lisa Torres felt the changes begin as her cellular structure rebuilt itself according to new genetic instructions. Her nervous system developed parallel processing capabilities that let her think about multiple problems simultaneously. Her sensory organs became sensitive enough to detect electromagnetic signatures from alien technology at ranges that approached supernatural perception. Torres led her expanded strike team toward the Coalition command vessel that had landed outside former Washington, D.C. The massive ship bristled with defensive systems that could vaporize conventional military units before they came within 10 miles of the target. But enhanced humans weren't conventional soldiers, and they didn't approach their objectives using predictable methods. The team moved underground through subway tunnels and storm drains that connected to the ship's landing zone. Torres' enhanced senses could map the vessel's internal structure by analyzing the electromagnetic patterns generated by its power systems. She knew exactly where to place charges for maximum damage and minimum risk to her people. Coalition technology relied on energy shields and automated defense systems that were designed to stop conventional attacks. The aliens had never encountered enemies who could phase shift their molecular structure, just enough to slip through energy barriers like ghosts walking through walls. Torres' team penetrated the command vessel without triggering a single alarm. High Stalker Vextel discovered the infiltration when explosions began tearing through his ship's critical systems. The humans had somehow bypassed every security measure and struck at targets that required intimate knowledge of Coalition engineering. They moved through his vessel like they had built it themselves and fought with weapons that shouldn't exist. On a primitive world. Torres and her team fought their way to the command center using abilities that made them seem like living nightmares to the Coalition crew. They absorbed energy weapon fire through modified skin that converted photons into useful cellular energy. They moved through solid walls by temporarily adjusting their molecular density, and they communicated through quantum entanglement that made their coordination seem telepathic. The command center fell in 12 minutes. Torres personally eliminated. Vextel using a weapon that combined human engineering with Coalition technology stolen during previous raids. The alien's death sent shock waves through the Coalition command structure because he had been considered the greatest hunter in their military hierarchy, but Torres wasn't finished with her mission. She accessed the ship's central computer and downloaded terabytes of data about Coalition technology, military procedures, and the locations of their homeworlds. The information flowed through the neural bridge network, instantly making every enhanced human on Earth into an expert on alien weaknesses. Major Alex Chun received the downloaded data while leading his team through a Coalition research facility hidden in the Amazon rainforest. The information revealed horrifying truths about the aliens' methods. They had been conducting enhancement experiments on conquered species for thousands of years, learning to extract the best qualities from each civilization before destroying. Chin's enhanced mind processed the stolen data with perfect recall that turned him into a living database of alien knowledge. He understood now why the Coalition had seemed so confident about hunting humans. They had perfected their techniques on dozens of other species, each one contributing new insights to their predatory methodology. The research facility contained specimens from extinct civilizations that had tried to resist Coalition expansion. Chun saw the preserved remains of beings who had possessed natural advantages that humans could never match. Some had been stronger, others faster, and a few had displayed mental abilities that bordered on psychic power. All of them had become trophies in the Coalition's collection, but humanity possessed something that none of those extinct species had developed. They understood that survival required more than individual excellence. Enhanced humans fought as a unified organism that shared knowledge across impossible distances and adapted to new threats with collective intelligence that grew stronger through every battle. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched real-time reports from combat zones across the globe with growing satisfaction. The second phase enhancement was producing results that exceeded even her optimistic projections. Enhanced humans were not just winning individual battles. They were systematically dismantling the Coalition's entire operational structure on Earth. Supreme Hunter Krovak made his final desperate decision as his forces crumbled around him. He activated the Scorched Hunt protocol that would bring the Coalition's most powerful weapons to bear against Earth. If these humans refused to accept their role as prey, then he would simply exterminate them entirely and find more cooperative species to hunt. The massive Coalition dreadnought Void Reaper entered Earth's atmosphere with weapons that could sterilize entire continents. Its mission parameters were simple and brutal. No human would survive to threaten Coalition dominance again. The ship's captain had eliminated 7 previous rebellions, using similar tactics, and expected this operation to follow the same pattern, but Captain Marcus Vale watched the approaching dreadnought from Earth's primary defense station with calm confidence that surprised his bridge crew. Hidden launch bays across the planet's surface began opening, revealing ships that looked like they had been built using Coalition technology but designed according to human tactical doctrine. Project Apex had always been about more than enhancing. INDIDUL humans. Elena Vasquez received the coded transmission she had been expecting for 20 years. The signal originated from deep space beyond any star system that humanity had officially explored. Agent David Cross had been operating in Coalition territory for decades, preparing for this exact moment. His message was simple and terrifying. For any alien who might intercept it, Phase 3 was ready and the Great Hunt could finally begin. But this time humans would be the hunters and the entire galaxy would become their hunting ground. Agent David Cross moved through the Coalition capital city of Morthak with the confidence of someone who belonged there. His genetic modifications allowed him to mimic alien biochemistry well enough to fool even advanced scanners, while his enhanced mind processed the cultural patterns that kept him invisible among the galaxy's most dangerous predators. He had been living this lie for 15 years, waiting for the signal that would let him drop his disguise. The coded transmission from Dr. Elena Vasquez arrived while David attended a council of hunters meeting in the city's central spire. Around Him sat representatives from 12 species that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. They spoke casually about the human problem as if discussing pest control methods for an annoying but ultimately harmless infestation. David smiled behind his artificial features as the council debated whether to simply sterilize Earth or preserve some human specimens for future hunting expeditions. They had no idea that one of their most trusted military advisors was actually a human spy who had been documenting their weaknesses for over a decade. The intelligence he had gathered would turn their own tactics against them with devastating precision. High Stalker Vextal S replacement arrived on Earth with a fleet that dwarfed the original invasion force. War leader Krathman commanded vessels from all 12 coalition species and brought weapons that had reduced rebel worlds to radioactive debris. He expected to find Earth's surface littered with human corpses and coalition banners marking the completion of another successful hunt. Instead, he discovered that coalition forces on Earth had been systematically eliminated, the few surviving. Aliens huddled in heavily fortified positions while enhanced humans controlled vast territories with predatory efficiency. Reports from the surface described impossible scenarios where humans appeared from empty air and vanished like ghosts after eliminating entire alien units. Major Alex Chin led a strike team through the Coalition research facility with movements that seemed to violate basic physics. His third phase enhancements allowed him to manipulate gravitational fields around his body, creating localized distortions that made him nearly impossible to track or target. His team moved through the alien base like a plague of shadows that consumed everything in their path. The research facility contained horrors that would haunt normal humans for generations. Preserved specimens from dozens of extinct species floated in stasis tanks while alien scientists studied their biological adaptations. Hyun found entire libraries dedicated to cataloging the weaknesses of conquered civilizations, along with detailed plans for hunting expeditions that had exterminated billions of sentient beings. But Chen also discovered something that changed everything. Hidden in the facility's deepest vaults were genetic samples from species that predated the Coalition by millions of years. Ancient DNA sequences that matched human markers with terrifying precision. The implications struck him like lightning. As he realized that humanity wasn't encountering the Coalition for the first time, Dr. Elena Vasquez felt the neural bridge network explode with new information as Jones' discoveries propagated through every enhanced human on Earth. The truth was staggering and beautiful in its terrible symmetry. Humans weren't primitive newcomers to the galactic community. They were the descendants of the Coalition's greatest enemy finally returning to finish an ancient war. The revelation triggered the fourth phase of Project Apex automatically. Deep space monitoring stations that had been dark for centuries suddenly blazed with activity as human ships began emerging from hidden bases scattered across the galaxy. David Cross and hundreds of other deep cover agents simultaneously dropped their disguises and began eliminating Coalition leadership with surgical precision. War leader Krathman watched his supposedly secure communication networks collapse as human infiltrators revealed themselves throughout Coalition space. Ships that had been trusted allies for decades suddenly turned their weapons on Coalition vessels. Military bases that had operated for centuries exploded simultaneously as sleeper agents activated weapons they had been placing for years. Sergeant Maria Santos coordinated the global assault from a command bunker beneath former Chicago. Her enhanced nervous system processed tactical data from every battlefield on Earth while simultaneously managing operations across 17 star systems. The neural bridge network had evolved beyond simple information sharing into something that resembled a distributed military intelligence. Maria's consciousness touched the minds of enhanced humans fighting in the ruins of Berlin where they hunted Coalition warriors through subway tunnels with pack coordination that made wolves seem clumsy. She shared tactical awareness with teams in the Australian outback who were eliminating alien supply convoys using weapons that phased between dimensions. Every battle fed data into the collective knowledge base that made humanity stronger, the Coalition's most feared weapon system. Void Reaper began its bombardment of Earth's major population centers, expecting to find helpless civilians cowering in underground shelters. Instead, the massive dreadnought encountered defensive systems that shouldn't exist on a world that had only recently developed interstellar flight. Hidden weapon platforms rose from ocean floors and mountain peaks, targeting the alien vessel with technology that looked suspiciously familiar. Captain Marcus Vale commanded Earth's Space Defense Network from his orbital station, watching as human ships emerged from stealth systems that had kept them hidden for decades. The vessels looked alien at first glance, but their design philosophy was purely human-focused on efficiency and tactical flexibility rather than the intimidation displays that Coalition species preferred. The space battle above Earth became a demonstration of how completely the tables had turned. Coalition ships that had dominated space lanes for centuries found themselves outmaneuvered by human vessels that anticipated their every move. Enhanced human pilots processed combat data with mechanical precision while retaining the creative unpredictability that made them superior to any artificial intelligence. War leader Krathman realized that his massive fleet was being systematically destroyed by enemies who seemed to know Coalition tactics better than the aliens themselves. Human ships struck at exactly the right moments, targeting specific systems with surgical precision that suggested intimate knowledge of Coalition engineering. The bombardment of Earth had become a slaughter of Coalition forces. David Cross emerged from the shadows on Morthek, leading a strike team of enhanced humans who had been living under deep cover for decades. Their target was the Coalition's Central Command Complex, where the Council of Hunters directed military operations across the entire galaxy. The facility was supposed to be impregnable, protected by energy shields and automated defense systems that could vaporize attacking armies, but enhanced humans didn't attack like conventional armies. They phased through energy barriers using molecular manipulation techniques derived from ancient human genetic templates. They absorbed energy weapon fire through modified cellular structures and redirected the power to enhance their own capabilities. They moved through solid walls and struck from directions that should have been impossible. The Council of Hunters died screaming as David's team eliminated them with weapons that combined human engineering with technology stolen from their own research facilities. Each death sent shock waves through Coalition command structures because these beings had been considered untouchable gods of war by their own species. Their elimination proved that no alien was beyond human reach. Colonel Rebecca Stone commanded humanity's deep space fleet from the bridge of a vessel that looked like it had been grown rather than built. Her ship and dozens of others had been constructed in hidden shipyards using techniques that blended human creativity with alien materials. They moved through hyperspace like hunting sharks following scent trails toward Coalition homeworlds. Rebecca's fleet emerged from hyperspace around the Coalition's primary military installation, expecting fierce resistance from defensive platforms and patrol vessels. Instead, they found abandoned facilities and empty space. The Coalition's forces had been recalled to defend their homeworlds from human attacks that were already in progress. The galaxy's greatest military power was collapsing under pressure from an enemy they had never seen coming. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the global situation from her command center with satisfaction that bordered on euphoric. Phase 3 of Project Apex was exceeding every projection as enhanced humans revealed capabilities that surprised even their creator. The neural bridge network had become something unprecedented in galactic history, a species-wide consciousness that learned and adapted faster than any individual intelligence. But Elena knew that the true test was yet to come. Hidden in the deepest levels of Coalition archives were records of the ancient war that had nearly destroyed both species millions of years ago. The conflict had ended with humanity's apparent extinction, but the truth was more complex. Humans had simply learned to hide while they evolved into something capable of hunting the hunters. War leader Krathman sent his final transmission as human ships converged on his flagship from impossible angles. The message reached Coalition homeworlds with news that would shatter their civilization's foundation. Earth had not been conquered. The humans were not prey. They were apex predators who had been preparing for this moment since before recorded history began. The transmission ended abruptly as Rebecca Stone's fleet completed its mission. The Coalition's command structure was collapsing across dozens of star systems, while enhanced humans emerged from hiding to claim their rightful place as the galaxy's dominant species. But the greatest revelation was still to come as ancient genetic programming activated dormant capabilities that would make the current generation of enhanced humans seem primitive by comparison. Supreme Hunter Krovac stood in the ruins of his command center staring at tactical displays that showed the impossible. Coalition forces were retreating from every star system they had occupied for centuries, while human ships appeared like deadly phantoms throughout their territory. The species that was supposed to become their newest hunting preserve had somehow become the hunters instead. General Patricia Hayes coordinated the galaxy-wide offensive from Earth's primary war room, her enhanced consciousness processing battle data from hundreds of simultaneous engagements. The neural bridge network had evolved beyond simple tactical coordination into something that resembled a military deity, capable of directing operations across interstellar distances with perfect precision. Patricia's awareness touched human strike teams that were eliminating Coalition leadership on their homeworlds. She shared tactical control with enhanced soldiers who phased through alien defensive systems like ghosts walking through solid matter. Every victory fed information back through the network, making humanity's collective intelligence grow stronger. With each passing moment, the Coalition's retreat had uncovered something that changed the fundamental nature of the war. Agent David Cross discovered ancient archives buried beneath the capital city of Morthok, containing records that predated current galactic civilization by millions of years. The files spoke of a species called the First Hunters who had challenged Coalition dominance when the universe was young. David's enhanced mind processed the alien text with perfect comprehension, revealing a history that Coalition leadership had worked to erase from galactic memory. The First Hunters possessed abilities that made current human enhancements seem primitive by comparison. They could manipulate matter at the quantum level and move through spacetime like it was an ocean. They had learned to swim, but the most shocking revelation was genetic. The First Hunters weren't extinct aliens from some forgotten civilization. They were humans from Earth's distant past who had achieved interstellar travel millions of years before humanity's current technological development. The Coalition hadn't encountered a new species. They had awakened their oldest and most dangerous enemy. Dr. Elena Vasquez felt the ancient genetic programming activate as her enhanced consciousness made contact with dormant DNA sequences that had been waiting for this moment since before recorded history. The fourth phase of Project Apex wasn't something she had designed. It was something that had been encoded in human genetics by their ancestors, who had fought this war before. Colonel Rebecca Stone's fleet discovered the truth when they reached the Coalition home system of Vakethara, the massive industrial planet that served as their primary shipyard was already under attack by human forces that had been operating in deep space for decades. But these weren't the enhanced humans from Earth. They were something far older and infinitely more dangerous. The ancient human ships moved through space with fluid grace that defied conventional physics. Their hulls seemed to be made of crystallized starlight that absorbed enemy fire and converted it into propulsion energy. The vessels fought like living creatures that had evolved specifically for combat in the vacuum between stars. Rebecca realized that Project Apex had never been about creating enhanced humans. It had been about awakening genetic memories that connected modern humanity to their ancient predecessors. The Coalition had made the mistake of threatening the descendants of the galaxy's apex predators, and now they would face the consequences of that decision. War leader Krathman made a desperate attempt to unite the Coalition's scattered forces for a final stand against human expansion. He activated the Null Directive, an ancient weapon system that had been created to eliminate species deemed too dangerous for galactic peace. The massive space station powered up weapons that could sterilize entire star systems with focused antimatter. A bombardment. But Agent David Cross had been studying coalition technology for 15 years, learning every weakness in their most powerful weapons. He led a strike team through the null directive's defensive systems using abilities that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. His modified cellular structure let him absorb energy attacks while his consciousness phased between dimensions to avoid physical barriers. The space station's crew consisted of artificial intelligences that had been programmed to eliminate organic life with mechanical precision. They couldn't understand how human consciousness could exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, or how enhanced soldiers could manipulate the fundamental forces that held matter together. The null directive fell to an enemy it had been designed to destroy. Major Alex Chun discovered the final piece of the puzzle while exploring Coalition research facilities on the former capital world. Hidden in the deepest vaults were genetic samples from the first hunters along with detailed studies of their capabilities. The Coalition had been trying to replicate ancient human enhancements for millions of years without understanding the consciousness that made them possible. Alex's enhanced mind made contact with genetic memories that stretched back through geological ages. He saw the original war between humans and the Coalition when Earth's children first reached the stars and encountered species that viewed them as potential prey. The ancient humans had fought back with abilities that transcended normal biological limitations. The war had ended when humans appeared to accept defeat, allowing themselves to be driven back to Earth and apparently destroyed. But the truth was more complex. The first hunters had simply learned to hide while they evolved beyond the need for physical forms that could be tracked and eliminated by conventional means. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the final phase of humanity's awakening with wonder that bordered on religious ecstasy. The enhanced humans on Earth were beginning to display abilities that matched their ancient ancestors. They could manipulate gravity to move between star systems without ships. They could phase their consciousness through quantum dimensions to appear anywhere in the galaxy instantaneously. The Coalition's remaining leaders gathered on their most heavily defended world, trying to develop strategies for fighting an enemy that seemed to exist beyond the normal rules of space and time. But enhanced humans were already among them, having infiltrated their defensive systems through methods that bypassed every known form of detection. Sergeant Maria Santos materialized in the Coalition Council chamber using quantum phasing techniques that let her step through dimensional barriers like walking through doorways. Her consciousness existed simultaneously in multiple locations throughout the galaxy, coordinating attacks that eliminated Coalition leadership faster than they could be replaced. The alien council members tried to activate their personal defense systems but found that their technology was useless against enemies who could manipulate matter at the subatomic level. Maria eliminated them with weapons that converted their atomic structure into harmless energy, leaving no trace of their existence except memories that would haunt their species forever. Supreme Hunter Krovak made his final transmission as human forces converged on his last stronghold. He had discovered something in the ancient archives that explained why the Coalition had worked so hard to forget the first hunters. The war had never really ended. Humans had simply been preparing for the final battle while their enemies grew. Complacent and weak, the Coalition had spent millions of years hunting weaker species and had forgotten how to fight equals. They had developed technology designed to intimidate and overwhelm prey animals, but they possessed no weapons capable of harming predators who had evolved beyond physical limitations. The hunters had become the hunted, and they were discovering that humans were patient enough to wait millions of years for revenge. General Patricia Hayes felt the collective consciousness of enhanced humanity reaching critical mass as ancient genetic programming fully activated. The neural bridge network was becoming something unprecedented in galactic history, a species-wide intelligence that combined individual creativity with collective processing power that could manipulate reality at the quantum level. But Patricia sensed something else awakening in the depths of space. Ancient human constructs that had been waiting in the void between galaxies were beginning to stir. The first hunters hadn't been destroyed in the original war. They had simply moved beyond the need for physical existence while they prepared weapons capable of rewriting the fundamental laws of physics. Colonel Rebecca Stone received new mission parameters as her consciousness made contact with intelligences that predated current galactic civilization by eons. The ancient humans had been building something in the darkness between stars while their descendants evolved on Earth. Now it was time to reveal humanity's true power to species that had forgotten why they once feared the children of Sol. The Coalition's final stronghold fell as enhanced humans demonstrated abilities that seemed like magic to beings who had never encountered truly advanced technology. They manipulated time to move faster than light. They converted matter into pure energy and back again at will. They existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously while maintaining perfect coordination across impossible distances. War leader Craftman died knowing that his species had awakened something that should have remained hidden forever. The Coalition had spent millions of years believing they were the galaxy's apex predators. Now they understood that they had never been anything more than temporary caretakers, waiting for humanity's inevitable return. The galaxy trembled as ancient systems activated and humanity revealed technology that made Coalition science seem like primitive cave paintings. But the greatest revelation was yet to come as enhanced humans prepared to show the universe what it truly meant to be apex predators in a cosmos where only the strongest survived. *****. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the Coalition collapsed like a house built from sand. Species that had dominated interstellar space for millennia found themselves fleeing before human forces that seemed to possess technology beyond comprehension. Ancient defensive systems that had protected Coalition worlds for centuries proved useless against enemies who could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. General Patricia Hayes stood in Earth's war room watching tactical displays that showed human ships appearing throughout Coalition territory like deadly flowers blooming in a garden of stars. Her enhanced consciousness processed data from thousands of simultaneous battles while coordinating with intelligence systems that existed beyond normal spacetime. The neural bridge network had become something unprecedented in galactic history. The ancient human constructs awaken from their million-year slumber in the void between galaxies. These vast intelligences had been building and waiting while their descendants evolved on Earth, developing technology that could reshape reality according to their will. They moved through space like living gods, dispensing judgment on species that had forgotten the meaning of fear. Dr. Elena Vasquez felt her consciousness expand as the final genetic locks opened and humanity's true heritage revealed itself. She was no longer simply an enhanced human scientist. She had become part of a collective intelligence that spanned multiple dimensions and possessed the ability to manipulate matter and energy at the quantum level. The transformation was beautiful and terrifying in its completeness. Agent David cross-materialized on the Coalition's last remaining stronghold world using abilities that transcended normal physics. His consciousness existed simultaneously across multiple dimensional planes while his physical form phased between quantum states that made him effectively immortal. He had become something that ancient texts would describe as a god of war walking among mortals. The Coalition's final defenders tried to activate their most powerful weapons but found that their technology simply ceased to function in the presence of true apex predators. Enhanced humans moved through their defenses like shadows walking through moonlight, eliminating resistance with casual efficiency that spoke of capabilities beyond measurement. Colonel Rebecca Stone commanded the ancient human fleet as it emerged from hidden dimensions, where it had been waiting since before current galactic civilization began. The ships looked like crystallized starlight given form and purpose. They moved through space with grace that made conventional vessels seem clumsy and primitive by comparison. The ancient fleet didn't fight so much as it demonstrated the futility of resistance. Coalition ships simply ceased to exist when they encountered weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas of space-time. The technology was so advanced that it seemed like magic to species who had never encountered truly evolved intelligence. Supreme Hunter Krovac made his final stand in a bunker, deep beneath his homeworld surface, surrounded by the most advanced defensive systems his species could create. But enhanced humans appeared in his sanctum like nightmares stepping through solid matter to deliver judgment for crimes committed across millions of years. Krovak died understanding that his species had never been apex predators at all. They had been scavengers feeding on the remnants of civilizations destroyed by beings who existed beyond their comprehension. The Coalition had built their empire on foundations of sand, while the true masters of the galaxy waited patiently for their children to mature. Major Alex Chung felt ancient. Memories flood his consciousness as genetic programming activated capabilities that his ancestors had possessed when the universe was young. He could manipulate gravity with thought alone and step between star systems as easily as walking through doorways. The enhanced humans were becoming something that transcended normal biological limitations. The Coalition's member species began surrendering as they realized the futility of fighting enemies who possessed technology that seemed to violate the basic laws of reality. Enhanced humans accepted their capitulation with mercy that surprised former predators who had never shown similar kindness to their own victims. Sergeant Maria Santos coordinated the establishment of new galactic governance systems using consciousness that existed simultaneously across thousands of star systems. The neural bridge network had evolved into something resembling a benevolent deity capable of managing interstellar civilization with perfect efficiency and unlimited compassion, but humanity's true power wasn't in their technology or their enhanced abilities. It was in their determination to protect the innocent and punish those who preyed upon the weak. Enhanced humans hunted not for sport or dominance, but for justice that transcended species boundaries and dimensional limitations. Dr. Elena Vasquez established contact with civilizations that had hidden from Coalition predators for millions of years. Species that possessed incredible artistic abilities or scientific knowledge, but lacked the aggression necessary for military resistance. Under human protection, they began to emerge from their hiding places and contribute to a new galactic order based on cooperation rather than predation. The ancient human intelligences revealed the truth about the original war between Earth's children and the Coalition. Humanity had never been defeated. They had simply recognized that the galaxy wasn't ready for their protection. The species needed to evolve beyond their predatory instincts before true peace could be established. General Patricia Hayes felt her consciousness merge with systems that spanned the entire galaxy as humanity assumed its rightful role as protectors of all sentient life. The Neural Bridge Network became a governance system that could detect and eliminate threats before they developed into galactic dangers, while nurturing species that showed potential for peaceful evolution. Enhanced humans established monitoring stations throughout Coalition territory, ensuring that former predator species would never again threaten weaker civilizations. But they ruled with wisdom rather than force, offering redemption to those willing to abandon their hunting traditions and embrace cooperative development. Agent David Cross became one of many human ambassadors who worked to integrate former Coalition species into the new galactic order. His enhanced empathy allowed him to understand alien psychology, while his consciousness could process cultural patterns that help former enemies find peaceful roles in interstellar society. The transformation wasn't limited to enhanced humans. Children born on Earth after the awakening possessed abilities that made their enhanced parents seem primitive by comparison. They could manipulate matter at the subatomic level and exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously while retaining the compassion that defined humanity at its best. Colonel Rebecca Stone explored ancient ruins left by civilizations that predated both humanity and the Coalition, discovering evidence of cyclic patterns that had repeated throughout galactic history. Species would evolve to sentience, develop predatory tendencies, and eventually destroy themselves unless guided by beings capable of long-term thinking. Humanity had been selected by forces beyond comprehension to serve as gardeners for galactic civilization. Their role wasn't to dominate other species but to nurture their development, while eliminating threats that could prevent peaceful evolution. Enhanced humans became shepherds for an interstellar community that spanned thousands of different forms of life, Dr. Elena Vasquez established academies throughout former coalition space where alien species could learn to develop their positive potential, while abandoning destructive traditions. The curriculum included not just technology and science, but philosophy and ethics that emphasized cooperation over competition. The galaxy entered a golden age under human guidance as species that had spent millions of years hiding from predators finally felt safe enough to share their knowledge and abilities. Art, music, and literature flourished while scientific discoveries accelerated beyond anything achieved during the Coalition's reign of terror. But humanity never forgot the lesson taught by their ancient enemies. Eternal vigilance was the price of peace. Enhanced humans maintained their hunting abilities not for conquest but for protection. They remained apex predators who chose their prey carefully, ensuring that evil would never again dominate the innocent. The story ended with a new human child born on a distant world, carrying genetic potential that would let her protect entire galaxies from threats that hadn't yet evolved to sentience. She would grow up in a universe where predators hunted only those who preyed upon the weak and justice stretched across the stars like a net woven from starlight itself. Enhanced humans had kept their promise to the galaxy. They had proven that the greatest hunters were those who hunted not for sport or dominance but for love of all life that deserved protection. Earth's children had become apex predators who chose justice over conquest and mercy over vengeance, creating a legacy that would endure until the last star burned cold in the depths of space.